Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Same value in two different variables. So now if I just do, okay, is num1 and num2 equal? Num1 equal to num2. So now what will happen in this case? This will check, okay, whether both the values are equal or not. It will check whether num1 is equal to num2, right? So now you can see num1 contains, is num1 and num2 equal? Yes, it is equal. Okay. Now, whenever I say num1 is num2, it checks whether both variable pointing to same reference. There is same memory. Whether it is pointing to same memory location. That is, we can find we can print the reference, all right, using a function called id. I can say id of num1 and then id of num2. Okay. So this is reference of num1 and then print reference of num2. I can just say id of num2. Okay. So now in Python, that is in other languages, if you create one variable, it will be having different memory space. Even both the variables are containing same value. But in Python, the thing is entirely different. Okay, the things are entirely different. Like if both the variables contain the same primitive types like integer, string, boolean, those things. Okay, it's a different case with collection. It's different case with the list, tuple, and all. Okay, so but if you have string and integer like this, okay, both will point to the same memory location. Okay, so look at this. Same ID for both these. See here 359104, 359104. So if I want to check whether both are pointing to same memory reference, okay, I can write is num1 and num2 point to same reference. So I can write id of num1 is id of num2. Okay, so now you can see here it is false. Sorry, sorry. Num1 is num2. Okay, so now you can see it's a true because both are pointing to same reference. So whenever you do, it will compare the value, not the reference. Whenever you do is operator, it compares the reference. It compares the reference of two different objects. It will not compare the value. I will also tell that how. Okay. Now, for example, now consider I am having the list now. Okay, I am having a list like this. Okay, let's say I am having a list like this. Okay, and also over here I am having a list like this. Num1 is equal to list5, num2 is equal to list5. Now if you say num1 is equal to num2, it will be true because basis of the values both are same. But if you see the reference of list1 and reference of list2, it will be different because it is a mutable type. right? That is, I can modify the elements at any point of time. Okay, so in this case it will not be different. Okay, so now if you see, okay, see, is num1 and num2 are equal? Yes, it is equal. But is num1 and num2 point to same reference? False. Got it? Clear, right?
Yeah.
Ajmal? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is nothing but identity operator. Okay, it is used to check the type as well as it is used to check for the reference. That is whether both the objects point to the same reference or not. And
Okay.
next one is concatenation
So,
operator.
one thing, if there is that an integer or string, whatever it is, if the same value pointing to the same reference, right?
Yes, exactly. That's
Yeah.
right. So now let's say concatenation operator, which is nothing but plus. We were talked about later. Like earlier itself, right? We were talked about that. The thing is, whenever you use plus operator, right? Okay, all the operands, data type of all the operands should be same. Okay, data type of all the operands should be same. So if operands data type, okay, if operand data type is integer, then it performs addition. If operands data types are non-int, okay, then it performs concatenation. Okay, it performs concatenation. That is, for example, if I say, okay, if I say 5 plus 3, this is nothing but this is also integer, this is also integer. So it performs addition. But if I say like this is string 5, this is string 3. Okay, now these are not integers basically, right? This is nothing but string 1 plus string 2. So this is nothing but concatenation. Okay, and we have something called mixed as well. That is, let's say 5 plus 3. That is string plus integer. It is not allowed. We have seen it earlier, right? See, add is nothing but 8. Concat is nothing but 53. It has concatenated two different strings. That's it. Okay. So in this case, in this mixed, depends on our requirement. I need to typecast it. So here I want to concatenate it. Okay. So I'm just converting 3 to string type, and then I'm just doing concatenation. So now you can see 53. Okay. And the last one is repetition operator. Okay, the one which we are using very frequently. This is nothing but repetition. Okay, that is, if all the data type, that is all the operands data type is int, it performs multiplication. Okay, if any one operand type is non-int and all the remaining operand type is int, then it performs repetition. It should be in this case. That is, only one operand type should be non-int and all the remaining operand type should be int. Okay. So now if I just say multiply, okay, let's say 5 into 3. All right. Now I can write repetition 1 into 3. Now 3 times 5 will be printed. Okay. Or I can write like this, repetition 2. That is 3 into string 5. Same thing. Or else let me just do like this, 5 into string 3. That is 3 will be printed for 5 times. Okay, 3 will be printed for 5 times. And also I can have any number of integers. See, I can have 5 or else let's say 2 into string 5 into 3. Okay, in this case what will happen? 2 into string 5. What is the output? It's nothing but string 55. again into 3. So now what will happen? 55 will be printed for 3 times, like 55, 55, 55, like this. All right. So this is how it works. So now you can see the output. Multiply is 15. Repetition 1 is, that is 3 times 5 is getting printed. 5 times 3 is getting printed. And 6 times 5 is getting printed. Okay, so this is how it works.
Okay,
That's
the last, yeah, the last one, it is taking in that order only from starting. For example, instead of 5, again it is a integer. Then after that, one string. Then will it play and
yes, the same thing. For example, if I remove this, okay, and then if I say something string over here, okay, and then now you can see the same thing. 10 trees will be printed. Okay, so it goes from left to right. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so please take it down. I will just go up and let me know when to scroll. I will just scroll it down. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, from here, membership.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I have done one.
Done, right? Okay.
Thing is that when I given that mixed concatenation, right? There it is stopping. It is not going to the rest of the script.
Okay, so please share your screen.
But I removed that. It is working then after that.
Okay, so just give me. Please share your screen.
Okay, that sharing option is disabled, I think. Okay, you have to make me as presenter.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Yes. So you have to say string of 5, str of 5. That mixed is there, right? That is, you have to typecast it. Yeah, you have to typecast it because everything should be belongs to a same type, right?
Yeah.
No, not on 3,
Here,
on 5, because
yeah.
3 is already a string, right?
Okay. Bracket.
Open parenthesis and then close parenthesis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought it will run the next lines if it is.
No, that is interpreter. That is, if there is any error, it will not go to the next statement. Okay, it will terminate the execution. So only for that we need to handle the exception that we will see later on. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thanks.
So now you got the output, right?
Yeah. I got it.
So let me just close this.
Okay.
And then now we are going to see conditional statements. Okay. So from now on, we are going to use the unique feature of Python, which is not there in other languages, which is nothing but indentation. Okay, it's nothing but indentation. So the thing is, here, in order to identify the blocks, right, we don't have curly braces. That is, in other languages, we have something called curly braces, right, to indicate the blocks. But in Python, we don't have curly braces to indicate the blocks. We have the feature of indentation. Okay, so indentation decides the block here in Python. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to start writing the block. So first let me write simple if else. Okay, let me write simple if else. So the functionality of if else, you know, right? Like we'll be giving one condition. If the condition is satisfied, it will execute if block. If the condition is not satisfied, it will execute another block.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm just going to write here if let me say num is equal to 125, like that. Okay, I'm writing if num percentage 5 is equal to 0. That is, I have placed one condition here. If num percentage 5 is equal to 0, then once there is, you can have any number of conditions, okay, separated by logical operators. There is and then you can write and then you can write and like that. Okay, now once you are done with the condition, you can just place the colon. Okay, once you press colon, you can see the next line is indented by default. Okay, next line is indented by default, and then you can start writing the block. Let's say print s1. Then you can write any number of statements inside this block. There is no limit in that. So I can say s3. So now consider you are done with this particular block. Then what you can do is you can just unindent to the previous indentation level. Okay, let's say else. I'm writing over here. Okay, and then again you can start the indentation block like s4 and then s5. So if you come out of the indentation, that means that block is over. If you are writing the block at the same indentation level, that means the block still exists. So basically, whenever you are giving the indentation, right, statements within the block should have same level of indentation. Okay, should have same level of indentation. That is, within the block, each and every statement should be indented at the same level. I can't give it like this. The second statement with some more indentation, and third statement some more indentation like this. This will raise the compilation error. So you can't see output of even a single line. Okay, if there is any indentation issue, it will just give you some error like this. That is syntax error, unexpected indent. Okay, so now let me just correct it. But statements across the block can have any levels of indentation. That is, statements across the blocks can have any levels of indentation. Okay, that is, I can write here. Okay, so here I can give 2 tabs. Okay, but here I can give only 1 tab here. Okay, so now this will not give you any error. You can see the output. Okay, see s1, s2, s3, because this condition is satisfied. Now, for example, if I remove this, okay, 12 is not divisible by 5. So now what will happen? It will go to the else block and it will print s4 and s5. So, but as per the coding standards, for one indentation level, just to give only one space. Okay, for one indentation level, just to give only one space. That is sufficient enough. Okay, so this is nothing but simple if else. Any doubts, Ajmal? Any doubts you have?
No, it's fine.
Okay, so next one is multi-level if else. Okay, multi-level if else. That is, I can give n number of if statements within a block. Okay, so now I can say, let's say like num is equal to 120 like this. All right, now I'm just writing if num percentage 5 is equal to 0, I can write print divisible by 5, and then I am writing else if. So else if should be written using elif. Elif num percentage 3 is equal to 0, then I can write print divisible by 3. Okay, then I can write again else print not divisible by 5 and 3. Okay, so num is equal to 120. If num percentage 5 is equal to 0, then print divisible by 5. Elif num percentage 3 is equal to 0 divisible by 3, else something. So now whichever condition That is, it checks the condition from top to bottom. Whichever condition satisfies first, that particular block, that appropriate block will be executed, and then it comes out. So out of these three blocks, depends on the condition, any one block will be executed. Okay, so now num is equal to 120. So this is done. This will be satisfied. So it gives you divisible by 5. See here, and it comes out. For example, if I remove 0 in it, so now 12 is not divisible by 5, and then 12 is divisible by 3, right? So now you can see the output as divisible by 3. Now if I remove one more number in that, so now you can see num is equal to 1. Okay, so now you can see not divisible by 5 and 3. Okay, it will go to else block. All right, this is nothing but multi-level if else. And then I can write nested if else. So what do you mean by nested? Nested means one within another. When you write this kind of block, right, you should be very, very careful with the indentation. Okay, the thing is, I can say num is equal to 125 like this. All right, now I am writing if num percentage 5 is equal to 0, I am just writing print divisible by 5. Okay, let me have 120. All right, and then again I am starting another condition inside this. Then I can write if num percentage 3 is equal to 0, then I can say print divisible by 3. Okay, then now if I want to write the else block, you should place the else block correctly. See, else print not divisible by 3. Okay, and then again else print not divisible by 5, like this. So now what will happen in this case? Now num is equal to 120. So this condition is satisfied. So this will print divisible by 5. Then since this if condition is present within this block, this statement will also be checked. So this will also be satisfied, right? Then now you can see divisible by 3. That will also be printed. Look at this. Both are getting printed. Divisible by 5 and divisible by 3. Both are getting printed. Now consider I'm just removing one number there. So now num is equal to 12. So now what will happen in this case? So if num percentage 5 is equal to 0, so this condition is failed. So directly it will go to the else block, and then it will say not divisible by 5. Okay, now you can see the output not divisible by 5. Okay, so this is nothing but nested if else. All right, and the last one is, that is single line if else. We can have if else in just a single line basically. All right, so in all these forms, that is in simple if else, multi-level if else, nested if else, this else class is optional. Even without else class, this program will work fine. Okay, there is no error in this. All right, but in single line if else class is mandatory. Okay, else class is mandatory. So that is, if you want to assign one variable based on some condition, so you might have heard about conditional operator in C language. Okay, so it applies the same logic over here. That is, consider I have a string is equal to PHP. Now I want to assign a variable called isPalin is equal to yes. Okay, I want to assign a variable yes if condition is satisfied. Okay, else I want to assign no to it. That's it. Okay, that is value if true, else value is false. Okay, so value if condition, else another value. So now you can see is underscore palin. I can write, okay. See here is palin is nothing but yes. So now if I just change it to Python, now you can see it is no. Is palin is no. All right. So any question, Ajmal?
No questions.
No questions, right? Yeah. So please take it down.
Yep.
Yeah. Please try it out and let me know once it is done.
It is done.
Yeah, done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, we are going to see looping statements. So like if you want to iterate a set of statements, okay, for n number of times, okay, then you can use looping statements here. So here we have two different types of loops, okay. So one is for loop, other one is while loop. And also I can use else class also with this, for else and then while else. Okay, that is for loop should be used when you want to iterate a set of statements based on a collection of values. That is for known iterations, you can use for loop. But for unknown iterations, that is if you want to iterate based on a condition or for unknown iteration, okay, based on a condition, and it can be used for unknown iterations, unknown number of iterations, okay. Now let's see for with the string. Okay, I can write for followed by variable name. That is in C language we used to write some variable, right? For I is equal to 0, like that. That particular variable. That is, let's say lm. In. This is not membership operator. So basically for lm in, okay, that is in which collection you are going to iterate. That is nothing but lm in. Okay, for lm in, I can say Python, and then I can write print element lem. So now what will happen here is it will be iterated through the indexes. First it will iterate through index 0, then index 1, then index 2, like that. It goes on. Okay, so now you can see the output Python. So basically for loop is used to iterate through the indexes. All right, now I can have else class also. That is, else class indentation should be in appropriate to for indentation. That is, I can write else something over here, else print for loop done. Okay, now if I execute this, what will happen? Else class will be executed when you complete the for loop. Okay, that is, first it will execute everything. First it will execute everything, and then once it completes all the iterations, then else class will be executed. Now consider I am writing the same set of statements. Okay, let's say for lm in Python, and then I am writing the same thing like element lem, and then I am writing for loop done outside the for loop. That is, over here I am not using else class. Okay, over here I am not using else class at all. So in this case, what will happen? Let's see.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
So it is producing the same output. There is no difference in it. There is no difference in it. So here also it is printed everything python, and then it is printing for loop done. And here also it is printing python, and then there is something called for loop done. Then what is the purpose of having else class? So consider I am giving something, okay? I'm giving some condition inside for loop, like if ELEM is equal to T. If element is equal to T, just break it. I'm also including the same condition here. If element is equal to T, break it. So what is the purpose of break statement here? So whenever the break statement is executed, it terminates the loop. It will come out of the loop. Okay. So in this case, what happens? If this condition is satisfied, it will go inside the loop and break will be executed. Okay. So break terminates a loop. That is, it comes out of the loop. So else class is part of for. So it comes to this particular statement. Okay, this for loop done will never be printed when you use break. But consider in this case, here also whenever I execute break, it comes out of the for loop. But over here, it comes to this particular statement because it is outside for loop. It is not under else block, right? It is outside for loop. Okay, now this statement will be printed. Okay, so for example, you can see the difference now. So here, else block is not at all executed, but here the same statements, if you place outside the for loop, that will be executed. So you can use whenever the break is not there is, consider you have break in the for loop, and if you want to execute a set of statements, if the break is not happening, then you can include those set of statements under else block. For example, in real-time scenarios, consider you have a list of files to process. If there is any error in the file, okay, you should not send any mail. Okay, you have to just leave it like that. But if you have if you have successfully processed all the files, only then you have to send an email. Then in that particular case, what you can do is, okay, you can just include that particular sending mail logic inside the else class. Got it, Ajmal?
Yeah.
Ajmal,
Yes.
any
The last.
questions, Ajmal?
Can you repeat once the last
See,
part? What is?
yeah. So I will just demonstrate that as well. Okay.
Okay.
See, consider I have a list of files. Okay, that is files underscore list is equal to, simply I'm writing with in string itself. Okay, like file 1, file 2, file 2, and then file 3. All right. So now we want to know whether this file is successfully processed or not. So for that, what I am going to do is I'm just going to keep it something like this: file 1 success, file 2 error, and then file 3 success. Okay, now consider the scenario that is, consider the use case. I want to send an email only if all the files contain success, that is all the string contains success over here. Okay, so in this case, what can I do? First, I can loop through the file, that is for f name in files list. Okay, then I am checking whether error is present. So before that, I have to, okay, so let's write error.
Just one question.
Yeah.
This f name or lm, these are all keywords or?
No, it's not keywords. It's a variable name. It's like we'll use,
Yeah.
right, I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0, like that, right? Iterative variable.
Okay.
These are not key
Okay.
names. Sorry, these are all not keywords.
Okay,
These
so
are just a variable.
whatever we are giving, it will go iterate through 0, 1 like that, right? Index.
That is, so in this, what will happen? This is a list, right? This is
Right.
this is 0.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
this is 1, this is 2. Okay, so let's write here print processing file. Okay, simply I am writing f name. Okay, so now let me just write like this. Let me just execute this one first and then I will continue. So now you can see
Okay.
processing file, file 1 success, processing file, file 2 error, processing file, file 3 success. Because if you take list, right, this entire thing is 0. This is 1. This is index 2. Okay, it's a
Yeah.
collection of objects basically. All right.
Mm.
Okay, so now I'm just going to have some temporary variable is file processed is equal to 0. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I am going to check whether this particular string contains error or not. I can use membership operator, right? That is, I can say if error in f name. If error is present, then I can say is file underscore proc is equal to 0. Then break it, come out of the loop, don't continue. Okay, else, that is, else consider the file has successfully processed. Consider file has successfully processed. Okay, so in this case I can say is underscore file underscore proc is equal to 1. I have to set it. Okay, clear? Now what I am going to do, I am just going to send an email. That is, I'm just going to check this particular variable. That is, if is underscore file underscore proc is equal to 1, then just say mail sent. Else, just write unable to send email. Okay, so this is what we are going to do now. Okay, let's see. Unable to send the email because there is some error. Now let's change it. Okay, let's change it. Let's say success here. Okay, so in this case, if I execute, you can see email sent because everything is success. Now this is what I can implement in other programming languages. Okay, this is what I can implement in other programming languages. That is, I should have some temporary variable. Okay, and then I need to update the temporary variable each and every time. Then once it comes out of the loop, I have to check whether the temporary variable is set to 1. If it is not set to 1, then unable to send email. If it is set to 1, email sent. This is what I have to do in other programming languages. But now I am going to use of for else. Okay, use of for else. That is, I can say same thing like for files list. Then I can say processing file. Okay, f name. All right. Now I can check if error in f name. Then break it. Okay, and then you can include else class for loop. Okay, you can include else class for loop, and then over here I can just write email sent, and over here I can write print unable to send email. That's it. The same functionality has been written. See here how many lines I used? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines I have used. But over here I have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 50% of lines of code has been reduced. But the functionality remains same. Okay, so look at this. Email sent, email sent. There is no change in it. Now let me just change over here. Okay, let me just change file to error. Okay, so now what will happen over here? It will say break, it will come out, right? Similarly, it will say break, it will come out. So if the break is not executed, then else block will be executed. So both are opposites. Both are quite opposite to each other. Okay, so now you can see the output: unable to send email, unable to send email. Got it now, Ajmal?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So please, yeah, please try it out, and then we'll continue with this.
Sure.
Any problem?
So I had some indentation error, but yeah, I corrected it.
Okay, okay.
You can just
Fix
go.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Slow
man.
down.
Yeah, yeah.
Please scroll down.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not getting that, default indentation.
Okay, 1 second. Let me make you as a presenter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, here when I'm giving enter, this much space it is taking.
Because in that top right, you have opened that quotes. Line number, yeah. That list, file list is equal to, you have given, right? Each and every element should be starting with a single quotes and close with a single quotes.
Okay.
Each and every element.
Okay.
File 1
Okay,
colon
okay.
success. Yes. And then next one. File 2 colon success. Yeah. And similarly there. Yes. That's right. Now you just press enter.
Yeah.
You're getting it, right? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, I'm
Any
about
error?
to. No, I'm just running the last part.
All right, yeah.
Okay, it's done.
Yeah. Okay. So next one. See, we have seen how to iterate through the string and through the list, right? So now let's see how we can iterate through the numbers. Integer is not iterable object, right? Okay. So now for this, right, I have to use function called range. Okay, I have to use function called range. That is, if I say range of 6, okay, if I give this, what will happen is it starts from 0 and it goes till 5, that is 6 minus 1. If I say range of n, it goes till 0 to n minus 1. And if I say range of 1 comma 6, in this case it starts from 1 and it goes till n minus 1. Okay, it starts from 1 and it goes till n minus 1. And if I say third, that is 3 parameters. There is 1 comma 6 comma 2. Okay, in this case, what will happen is first it will print 1, then 1 plus 2, 3. Okay, then 3 plus 2, 5. So 5 plus 2 is 7, which is not at all there in the range. Okay, so let me give for num in range of 10 comma 5. That is, starting number is greater than the ending number. So I have to give minus step. That is negative step I have to give. 10 comma 5 comma minus 1. So now if I print this number, you can see the output 109876. Okay, 109876. So this is how you can iterate through the numbers. And now let me write the same thing using the while loop. Okay, let's say count is equal to 10, and then while count is greater than 5, then I can print the count. Then once I print it, I have to explicitly decrement it. So since I don't have minus minus and plus plus operator, okay, now you can see count minus is equal to 1. Okay, and also here I can use else block. The functionality of else block is similar to for loop. Okay, so I can say while loop done. So now you can see 109876 while loop done. So whenever condition is failed, then it comes to the else block. And also here we did something like while else based on a condition and can be used for unknown number of iterations. What is that unknown number of iterations? That is, let's see something called input function. Input function. That is, this input function is used to get the input from the user during runtime. That is, if I say string is equal to input of enter any string. So whatever parameter that you are giving, this is optional parameter and it is the prompt message. So now when this statement is executed, the system will wait for our input. Okay, and once we enter the input, okay, I can write string and then type of string. Okay, and then I can write type of string. Okay, so now what will happen in this case is, let me just execute. See, now it is waiting for my input. Okay, it is waiting for my input. So I have to say hello. You can say class string. It is written in the form of class string. Now consider I am entering a number. Okay, let's say 528. This is purely a number, but input function always returns the input in the form of string. Okay, in the form of string. So in this case, you can just typecast it directly. That is, if you want to get some number, right, you can just typecast it directly like int of input of this one. But the problem here is, see, user can enter any characters, right? We should not tell, that is, we can't tell the user you should enter only numbers like that. So if they enter number, then no issues. It will be successfully typecasted to integer. But now consider, okay, like if I give this code to tester, right? Some testing team, I'm giving this code to them. So what they will do, they will test with various number of inputs. So they will give ABC also. It depends on the user. Okay, so now if I execute, I will get an exception saying invalid literal for int with base 10. So Now I am not typecasting it. Okay. Now what I am going to do is I am going to have unknown number of iterations. Okay. I'm going to implement unknown number of iterations using while loop. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to write while true. So while true is satisfied, always satisfied. It will not give you any error at all. It will keep on running. Okay. Now I am just having number is equal to input of enter a number. So now consider user has entered something. Now I want to check whether user has enters only number. Okay, this for example, in my previous case, it was not giving any error because all the characters are number. So if I want to check whether the user has entered only number, I have some method in string class called num.isDigit. Okay, is digit. It returns true only when all the characters are numbers. Otherwise, it returns false. Okay, so if it returns true, then I can convert to like this. Num is equal to int of num. Okay, num is equal to int of num. And then I can say break. Okay, all right. Now, otherwise, I can just write print invalid number. Try again. Okay, I can say try again like this. So now once I come out of the loop, then I can say I can just print the number here, type of num. Okay, so this particular loop will be repeated until I enter valid number. If I am not entering any valid number, right, it will keep on repeating. Okay, so now you can see first one is nothing but some string I can write. Now I am entering like Python now, Python 528. See here, invalid number, try again. I'm getting. I'm not entering anything. See here, invalid number, try again. So let me enter some special character. Invalid number, try again. Okay, if I enter space and then this and then this, invalid number, try again. So if I enter valid number only, it will come out and then it will print 528 is class integer. So like this, we can implement the unknown number of iterations. Got it? Any questions, Ajmal?
No, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, please take it down.
Okay, well, one question with the previous one. While iterating through the lines, the same will be there, right? I mean, just we did for Python one word, right? For example, if you have multiple lines, then it will be the same process. It is applicable, right?
No, I'm not getting your question. What is that?
No. When we were doing iterating through the string, right? So we have given Python. So instead of that, if we have multiple lines, we have to iterate. Then it will be the
So that time it will go to each and every character only.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, the same thing will happen. See, if you iterate through the string, right, always it goes to each and every character. That is, all the characters will be iterated, even if it is present in the multiple lines. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can give some space or something as a split. Then it will
Yes.
divide, right?
Yes. Then it will be by word. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
And if you split it by /n, it's nothing but by line.
Oh, one line. Okay.
Right.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.